Hi everyone, I'm Christina from That Canadian Teacher. In today's video, I'm going to go through 3 activities that Elections Canada offers for free from their classroom resources page. So you can order any of these activities and use them in your civics class, your Canadian history class, or even a media or digital literacy class. It's all available to you for free, and it does a fantastic job of walking you through the various perspectives to citizen participation, digital information and misinformation, and how to understand the impact of voting rights on Canadians throughout the course of Canadian history. So stay tuned and I'll walk you through each of the activities. The first activity I'm going to go through is Civic Action Then and Now. In this particular activity, you could do it at the beginning of your course, but I personally do it at the end of the course as a consolidation of all of the information that we've learned throughout the semester. So it's up to you how you want to deliver this. But if you order this from Elections Canada, what you get from them is you get the teacher resource guide. And of course, this is available in English or French. You also get 5 posters like this. You also get packs of cards. One pack represents women and the right to vote, and one pack represents Aboriginal treaty rights and Canada's Constitution. If you go to the Elections Canada website, you're going to find all of the resources and tools that you're going to need in order to have a successful lesson. However, what I did was I took their PowerPoint that they had provided, and I actually merged it with a PowerPoint that was provided by OHASTA, the Ontario History Social Science Teachers Association. And I combined the two into a kind of merged activity that had the activity from Elections Canada, but the consolidation that OHASTA provided. And I'll walk you through what I do with that. Now, how I organize all of these resources that I have for the Civics Now and Then is I purchased these pouches from Amazon, and I put a stack of cards within that pouch. So in my hand is Women in the Vote, and so I just put it in this little pouch. So each student group is going to get one pouch and one poster at their groups. And I'll walk you through what they're expected to do once they have these posters. Now, the Elections Canada website does have videos that walk you through how to use this resource, but I'm going to quickly just show you what you would expect to see in working with your students and how I use this in my classroom. So like I said, the students are going to get these cards. So this one that I have in my hand is Women and the Vote. And as a group, they're going to determine, after they've watched a little video introduction about this particular case study, they're going to determine where this would fit. So you see here, this one's talking about signing a petition. They then have to decide, is this an example of working together as a group, participating as an individual, building public support, or working through the political system? Now, as part of that slideshow that Elections Canada provides, they do give you a little bit of an overview of each of these. So you're going to want to introduce what each means in advance of doing this activity. But for example, the students might determine that signing a petition goes with participating as an individual. And so they place the card there. So in discussing, the students might certainly go with the more standard answer of signing a petition being an example of participating as an individual. But in their discussion, they might actually come to the conclusion that it's building public support or working together as a group, right? Or working through the political system. So depending on how they're discussing it in their groups, this card could fit in any of the 4 quadrants. So it allows them to really assess what they've learned in the course and how they can look to apply civic understanding to a scenario. I store all of these items in this larger pouch, and then I, of course, have labeled it so that I know what's inside of it. And inside has the teacher guide as well as the posters. So I do have additional posters in case any of them get ruined. The next one I'm going to talk about is good for a history class or your civics class. I personally have used it in my history class. What this one is the voting rights through time. And it comes with a lot of cool features that you'll be interested in. So once again, you're going to get your teacher resource guide. You're also going to get another poster. This one is very large, so I'm not going to open it fully, but essentially you're going to get a timeline that goes across, and then you'll see it has exclusion and inclusion. And then you get 5 different packs that represent different groups within Canada. So there's women, youth, Japanese Canadians, First Nations, and Inuit. And within each of these packs, you get quite a few things. So let me show you what's inside the Inuit one. I organized them in these folders. Again, I got this from Amazon. Just this keeps my life a little bit easier. So when I'm handing these out to students, I don't have to worry about them not having all of the things that they need in order to do the activity well. So inside, I have a frame. You have a overview card that tells a little bit about the group of people that are going to be discussed in this particular station. And then you have cards that have various historical markers for that group of people. So you can see the one that I have in my hand here is 1953 and what happened in that particular year. And there's various images that go along with that. Again, for this one, there are only 5 groups that you're given. Again, I had a larger class, so I had to order it twice. So I do have double of the various groups. So you have to kind of think about how you want to organize this. You could do it like I do it, which is in groups. You can have each group work through the activity. Otherwise, you could do it as a gallery walk. You could have it as a stations activity. It's kind of it depends on how you want to go about organize the materials. But you do only get the 5 groups. So if you need more than 5, you're going to have to order it twice. For voting through time, you get this massive poster that I just showed you. And then you get this information card. So this one that I have here is the women's case study. So it provides a little bit of an overview for the students. They also then get these cards, which they then put in chronological order. So what I have the students do is they then just place it onto the poster here in chronological order. Now, when they're doing this, you want them to discuss whether or not they feel it's an example of inclusion or exclusion, and whether they feel it's somewhat inclusion or really, extraordinary inclusion. So +1, +2, or -1 or -2. And they're going to determine where they're going to place it on this chronology. So let's say they decide for this one here that they're going to put it as a -1, and they're going to move their way through the chronology. So I've just arbitrarily placed the cards onto the timeline. You're then going to have the students take their frame and they're going to place the frame over the moment in time that was a significant turning point for this particular group. Now, this is why I like doing this activity in my Canadian history class, because turning point is a great historical skill that students need to understand and to master. So they might say, for example, this event here in 1940 was the turning point. And so they're going to put their frame over that particular event. And as a group, they have to justify their choice and their selection. So again, for this one, I do keep it in another large size bag, and then inside is all the resources that I need. Each of the groups is organized into their own little folder, and I would just give each group this package of elements. When you receive the items from Elections Canada, they are packaged separately, so there is a little bit of organization on the front end of things to just make sure that you have everything that you need, and certainly you could use the little Ziplocs that they give you to achieve this. This is just me being a little bit extra and organizing it. The next one is my favorite, Digital Skills for Democracy. In this one, again, you're going to get the teacher resource guide, but it's going to come with a whole lot of different moving pieces. So I'm going to walk you through how I organize this just to keep it a little bit more functional for my students. So you're going to get a round 1 scenario card and a round 2 scenario card. Again, there's only enough for groups of 5 groups within your class. I had to order double because I have 6 groups in my class for a larger class size. But as you can see, there's a lot going on here. So let's start with round 1. I did put them in different colored envelopes so you can see that they're different. The reasoning for this is because this is round 1, this is round 2, and so just a visual reminder for myself of what I'm looking at here. So in round 1, these are fake scenarios. And so what they've done is they've created a scenario for the students. What you're going to do is you're going to hand out what they call the scenario cards first. What this does is it provides you with a little bit of an overview of the situation that's going on. The students then have to determine if they find this to be reliable, the excerpt that's given. So for example, in this particular scenario card, it talks about seeing on social media that if you're 14, you can vote for the prime minister. So the students have to determine whether or not they find this to be very trustworthy or not trustworthy at all based on the information that's provided. So in this first envelope, I have the scenario cards only. So in here, I have each of the 5 different scenarios that they've provided. The one that I just explained is one of the scenarios that is provided. Then once the students have assessed that first piece, I'm going to give each of their groups this next envelope. So you can see I've labeled it as Prime Minister because this one's about the voting for the Prime Minister. And so then in there, there's cards. So you can see card D is here on the front, but there's B, C, and D cards. So card B, do they find this to be trustworthy or untrustworthy or something in between? And then assess why they feel that to be true. They're going to move their way through up to card D, and then they're going to make a decision. Once they've made their decision as to whether or not they find the scenario to be trustworthy or not, I'm going to provide them with the answer key. On the answer key, they're going to see whether or not it was actually true, and if they were using good deductive reasoning to come to that conclusion. For the next one, these are actual real scenarios using real social media posts. So in it, what the students will be given are social media posts that they then have to determine if it is in fact reliable or unreliable. And you do the same thing that you did with that first round, but this time you're using it with real scenarios that are provided. So I'll show you this one here. So this one's about the flag. So you can see that they've given a little bit of an excerpt from Google and what the person has been doing. So it gives them some strategies that they can employ in order to come to that conclusion. And I'll show you what my activity sheet looks like and what I get the students to do. This is a little bit different than what Elections Canada has provided in their teacher guide. Personally, I like it better with the drop-down menu and the different coloring options that the students can use to determine how they're going to rate the different cards. So if they find in card B that it is highly reliable, the color coding matches that reliability, and then they have to explain it. Once they finish with card D, they're going to ask me for the answer key, and on that is actually going to give them what the reality of the situation is. And so they're going to be able to see whether or not they used, again, those deductive reasoning skills to come to the appropriate conclusion. Now, this is paired with a lesson on disinformation and misinformation. What I did was I took the Elections Canada's PowerPoint, and I actually merged this with a slideshow activity from Polytalks. Polytalks had a lesson on vertical and lateral reading, and I just connected the two so that the students could use those skills that they had developed in that front-loaded information that we went through as a class to then do this consolidation activity in their groups. This last one is a little bit of a bonus. It's not from Elections Canada. It's something that I created myself, but I use this as a good starter activity. That first day, you're looking to kind of get to know how students work with each other. How can you get them thinking about what is civics and how we can understand the role that civics plays in our daily lives? So what I did was I purposefully sought out images that reflect different perspectives that we are going to be looking at. So the one on top is protest movements, homelessness, parks and recreation, education, elections, and transportation. And so what the students will do is they'll get the little envelope, and as a group, without any prior information or a real kind of concept about what civics is, they have to determine what about these pictures suggests that government could be involved. So in looking at these pictures of public transportation, for example, what could the government do in response to public transportation? What is their role in connection with public transportation? And so the students would brainstorm. I have portable whiteboards that we use in class. You could do this on chart paper, or have the students brainstorm on a Google Doc or a Fig Jam. And you just have them kind of think about, in what ways is the government involved in something like public transportation? And so this gets them thinking about the role that government has in our everyday lives. I hope those activities gave you some good ideas. All of the links for any of the activities that I've mentioned in this video are going to be in the description box. Don't forget to follow me on my social media. I'll put the links up at the top. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.